feel like last time was Prismatic Prelude as well when we did our
Mhm.
last session.
Prismatic Prelude seems to be one of the more tame portals nowadays compared to some of the other ones. I barely see anybody taking like Wandering Trainers or Crab Raven compared to when it started out.
Yeah, so I got a pair of
Oh yeah,
Zyras early, so I was just like,
mhm.
okay, go in that direction. The problem is I
This
don't
is a
have any
solid
rods or
spot.
tears.
Yeah, that is a little bit awkward. Okay. Yeah, these items aren't amazing for Zyra.
Yeah, the other thing is I got the Sniper Crown, which I think is the best performing statistically prismatic
Mm-hmm.
augment. And I think I scouted the lobby, and I want to say there was like, I don't think there was like anybody that was too crazy leaning in that direction.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
I also don't have any bows or swords. I just have the one club. But I guess you get a
yeah,
Rage Blade anyway.
yeah. You have a rage, but you can think about like Even Shroud. You already have that potential slam,
Hmm.
so you could have like two full items here with the Aphelios. That's sort of what I'd initially consider. That I do think Sniper Crown is really good here, just because just based off of what your items are, you can make a lot of use out of it.
Even though I have like
You can,
no supporting cast.
yeah, even if you have no supporting cat, like you can just play around some generic front line, slam the Rage Blade on Aphelios, and kind of work from there. You don't necessarily have to win streak, but
Mhm.
I think that it gives you the tools to, at some point, once you hit your upgraded front line, really get a win streak going. Maybe not now, but you already have the items, right? You kind of have something slammable, but it's not absolutely necessary.
Mhm.
It is, I think, a pretty consistent option.
Okay. So then the other option I was looking at is prismatic tickets, since I already have the Zyra pair, and it seems
Yeah,
like I should have
definitely.
a pretty high probability of hitting Zyra 3.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. And then the other thing is if I had like bows and rods, maybe could also consider Living Forge to try to hit like a Bard or Tom Kench. Or
Yeah. I'd say Living Forge in general is a pretty good take because you can play around like the Bard Tom Kench comp. The awkward part about it is just like it's again it kind of comes down to like what your current items are,
Mhm.
and you'd have to sort of you would have to invest a lot to get to a spot where your items are anywhere close to being good enough to play Bard Tom Kench, right?
Yeah.
It's just like you have zero slammable items for that comp right
Yeah.
now.
Okay. So if I don't think anybody like picked a sniper specific augment or had a Gwinsu slammed, like, but if
Mhm.
it was, let's say, three-way contested, would you still take this? Or let's say tiers.
Probably Probably not, unless of course my spot was like really good for it. If I thought like my front line is already really solid, I'd be like, okay, it's really strong. I know I can full streak with this, so it doesn't really matter what everybody else is doing.
Hmm.
Again, it's because it's prismatic start. People are going to, in general, be quite strong. So you have to be in a really good spot for it and say like, okay, I have upgraded front line already. Maybe I have you know a solid sniper pair that it can go into, something like that, then you can take it. Otherwise you might have to reconsider and play more towards what you already have, which is the Zyra pair, right?
Right. And if
But
you
I
it
think,
was one way
yeah,
contested, then you would be fine taking it.
I'd probably just take it anyways. Yeah.
Okay. In what world do you take Build a Bud? Like, what are the kind of conditions?
Honestly, like, build a bud is something. It's just like you don't have any better option, but it's like build a bud is very good in the stats,
Yeah. Although it
so you
seems like
can just,
very dependent on getting lucky with an item slam that works on the the unit you get.
yeah, it's partially because of that. And with your current items, there's not much you can do in terms of the slams.
Yeah.
But overall, I think you can still hard force your way into playing a particular comp around whatever build a bud is, because you're
Hmm.
going to streak at, it's going to be very easy for you to streak. If you really have to, like, I'd say with these items, any sort of frontliner is fine. You can just stick them up front and then maybe slam like a guard breaker or something as your back line, and you'd probably still win.
Hmm.
Um, So it really just depends. But I think, yeah, I'd say build a bud. You can just check the stats and be like, oh, this is all right. And playing around 3-star one cost is still you can be relatively flexible about it, right?
Right. And then here, I won the first one, and then I actually rolled to try it because I have so many pairs. Actually, everybody's a pair.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? To try to like streak? Although I guess I don't have a
So I
slammable
think
item.
Yeah, I think at this point I wouldn't really care too much about winning or losing
Uh-huh.
because if you're like here at this spot, if I'm thinking about for sure playing Zyra, what I would prioritize more is probably getting solid items, which means it's actually
Uh,
beneficial for me to lose rounds, right?
okay.
So I can get pick prio on carousel,
Mm-hmm.
so then I can potentially get tiers and rods that I need because right now you just don't have those. So winning is a little bit less important, I would say, especially because with Prismatic Ticket, you want to build up your econ so you can do like a solid roll down and get
Right.
all of your upgrades.
Okay, that makes sense. I also don't know why I skipped the Sivir too,
Oh
and I think
yeah,
I barely
I mean,
lost this
eventually she
fight.
goes. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. This is the thing. Is like Prismatic Ticket. You're not actually supposed to be that strong at this point in the game, right?
Uh-huh.
So you shouldn't worry too much about win streaking. You kind of just be like, okay, I can take the losses because I kind of need the econ, right? That's the most important thing.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, like you're never gonna be able to beat out people like this, right? Who level 5 plus they're already gaining the immediate benefits of their prismatic augment,
Mm-hmm.
right? And especially because you kind of want the specific items. Like if you had lost, like right now the items are a little bit not great now,
Yeah.
right? Because the rod and the tier are both gone. But if you had not leveled, maybe lost the first round or just taken some extra damage, maybe you'd have pick prio there and get like more slammable items.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you definitely have like a lot more econ, right? So
Yeah.
you could have just like here if you could have just not spent any gold in leveling, right, and sort of just kept the streak gold from losing, and then you'd have a lot more money to roll with, and your items might be a little bit better, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just one of the things to recognize. It's like, oh, I took Prismatic Ticket. I'm not actually supposed to be strong right now, right? It's once you do your roll down and you hit your 3-star that you're going to be strong.
Yeah, it's like this middle zone of not being that strong, but not being that weak. That's like
Yeah, yeah,
where you want to avoid.
yeah. Because that's when your econ tends to be not the greatest, and like the health is not in the best spot either.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, especially since I'm like just holding a bunch of these units, and it's
mhm.
expensive to just hold them.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
And then there's that other guy that also has prismatic ticket.
Ooh,
Though it seems
yeah,
like he was leaning more towards Kindred and Nar, but I suspect he was keeping an eye on my board too.
yeah.
Yeah, these
Um,
items I was just like, oh,
yeah, you're gonna have to do like from what I see here, like maybe Nasher's Shojin, and then Spark for the cloak.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, like here, winning is actually huge here because you kind of have to make that 30. But like once you level here, you're not gonna be able to roll much anyways, right? Uh, so it's like a little bit awkward, just like the way that the econ played out because you could have a lot more econ, right? That's the kind of thing is, and the previous round you lost streaks anyways, so um,
What's your
probably
thought
would
on
have paid.
my just not leveling here? I guess I scouted and I was like, this guy seems pretty weak since he's greeting hedge fund.
Yeah, I think not leveling here is probably your best bet because the thing with Prismatic Ticket is you're still going to need a lot of money,
Mm-hmm.
so you're better off just holding and waiting a bit. Otherwise, like if you level, you might just not even have the econ to hit everything, and you're gonna have to start like selling particular units, giving up on specific 3 stars, and that's never really a spot you want to be with this
Right.
augment, right?
And going back to your point earlier, losing is not that bad since I can get hopefully some tiers.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully, you can get a tier or a rod.
The other problem is that this
Understood.
lobby was very aggressive. I think AP. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
both tiers gone.
Yeah, that's rough. That's rough. Yeah, man, the rod is alright. Yeah, it's you definitely really need the tier here.
Yeah. So really, I think two already really big mistakes. One is spending gold early to try to win, despite Prismatic Ticket just being weak early game relative to combat
Mm-hmm.
augments, and then so that impacted my ability to hit certain gold thresholds, which will impact my mid game or in hitting my units. And then
Yeah,
a corollary to that is by trying to win, I actually didn't lose more HP, which caused me to lose carousel priority 2 times, which
yeah,
could have
yeah,
very significantly impacted my ability to get tiers and rods.
yeah, yeah.
And that kind of all
That's
snowballed
real.
from that early decision to just like
Mm-hmm.
level and roll.
Yeah, yeah. I think yeah. I mean, the primary thing is just you kind of have to be aware of when you're supposed to start streaking, when it's absolutely necessary. So ideally, it would be probably sometime next round, right? Once you've hit all of your 3 stars, which should be quick because you have prismatic ticket. But before then, obviously, I think that in certain reroll comps, it might be necessary to be win streaking early. But since I think Ghostly Zyra is one of the stronger comps in the meta, just in general, it's not actually that important that you win all of the early rounds.
Mm-hmm.
Um, oh, is that an Alawi?
Yeah, for some reason I was forgetting about the Alawi. Do you slam a Gwinsu over the?
I might even slam a JG here. Let me double check those. Yeah, I think JG is probably it's
Over the
over the
steadfast?
steadfast because like chain can build into a lot of solid items. I would
Uh,
say, but glove like JG is for sure better than the Gwyn. I mean, honestly, Gwynsu might be relatively okay.
do you do
Gunblade,
JG and GS then,
yeah, yeah, maybe JG. You
or
could
hold for a
potentially greet
tier?
it
Yeah.
for Shojin, because I think it's really nice to have the mana
Right.
gen. I think that's probably the most important thing for you, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And like you're not, it's not like you're that high in health. You can probably still get a tier off of carousel, anyways. And I think that slamming any of the other items aren't going to help you particularly win the rounds that you would lose in these next 3 stages.
Mm.
So it's probably fine to greet it a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, that's sort of what I think. But there it has its merits, it has its sort of issues. But
Yeah. So
I
all of
think,
this was snowballing around not getting carousel priority. It just makes all these
yeah,
decisions
yeah,
super awkward.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I also looked at the
yeah.
stats later, and Gunblade is just not good on Zyra.
Mm-hmm,
I guess
mm-hmm.
you want more damage to just kill stuff off instead of trying to heal.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Also, what's your
So
take
you got the
on leveling to 7 and rolling for the 2 costs versus staying on 6 first?
I think leveling to 7 is fine. I honestly, you think you should be leveling to 7 here, just because the full board sort of functions around you being level 7, right?
Right. So you
So
have done
now that
that
you've hit the
before I hit the Zyra 3?
no, I probably would have gone for Zyra 3 first
Oh,
and
okay.
then push the level.
Yeah.
Just in the rare instances where you might not hit the Zyra, like level 6 is going to be your best odds, so you would probably want to roll first, hit the Zyra, and then push the levels. I think that's perfectly fine. And then on 7, if you want to keep on rolling and never level again, still, that's still your best odds to hit something like a Lowy 3,
Mm-hmm.
right? So then you could potentially, if you don't hit Aatrox 3, you can move those items to Alawi, because Alawi's probably going to have a lot better of a time with those items than Aatrox, just because I think Alawi 3 is probably the better unit.
Yeah. The problem is Alawi is super contested. I think there were at
Yeah,
least
yeah,
three
it's
other
not that
players
likely,
playing
but
Alawi.
if you happen to hit, I mean, anything is possible with Prismatic Ticket. I think
Yeah,
it's
the tier is gone again.
yeah, yeah,
So I think at this point I was just like, okay, build some bow item, and I
yeah,
got.
yeah. I think Rage Blade is probably decent.
Oh,
The
okay,
Double
yeah.
Nashers is okay as well.
I assume the attack speed stack, like when after the cast for Nashers.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's like just an additive amount of attack speeds.
Okay,
It definitely stacks. I don't know if I don't think it's more efficient than a Rage Blade though in terms of mana gen
right.
over the course of a fight. Yeah, but not having the Shojin here is really awkward.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I guess the other thing is also your front line isn't exactly in that great of a spot.
Yeah, you basically need a 3-star in the front line for this comp to work.
Yeah. Oh, that's rough.
I had a mana Zane, but
Okay.
like I feel like at this point I just need a stronger front line.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think so. I think the biggest thing in this mid game part is just like the gunblade slam is not ideal.
Mm,
So I think if you could manage to like, I would always hold on to the sword just for the opportunity to get a Shojin, right? Because getting Shojin here is very important, even if you have to wait all the way to chickens, right?
yeah,
If you can still get the Shojin, like if you can get one tier off of these, then it's fine. Or you could have had the you can't really predict for the Mana Zane, but you could have also been able to get a Mana Zane on her, which would have been pretty nice.
hmm.
So there's just a couple options that you had available.
So you're willing to
Um,
take some more additional stage 4 damage to greet that tier?
yeah,
Because
yeah. Like at this point, I think greeting the tier is probably better because the thing is, when your items are kind of like this,
you're guaranteed to lose stage 5 if you don't fix your items,
yeah, yeah,
and you're
yeah,
dead.
you're
Yeah.
essentially like going to die anyways. So, like, if your items are not particularly good, it doesn't really matter like whether or not you greeted or if you didn't,
Hmm.
because even if I'm like slamming my items, if they're not going to help me win the rounds later, then I might as well have greeted so that I can at least potentially win those fights, right?
Hmm.
It's kind of like in the spot that you were, it's like I'm either playing for like an eighth or a top four, right?
Mm.
So in that scenario, it's kind of like if I'm still slamming, not the greatest items, I'm still going to be losing, right? So you're still going to perform, you're still going to bot four. If I kind of greed for like the most important thing, which I do think is going to be the Shojin, and if you can get that Shojin, you might be able to pull off a top four. I also think that here the other thing is instead of leveling to 8,
Uh-huh.
you probably do want to roll just to get some 3 stars.
Oh, and 7.
So the important thing to look at is like your end game board at this point at the end of the game
Hmm.
was just Syra 3 plus the standard units, but none of them are 3-starred, right?
Right.
So the thing about pushing levels with Prismatic Ticket is that you do tend to lose out on a lot of value from the augment, right?
Right.
Because all of the value from that augment is coming from you spending gold to roll so that you can get the extra rolls, right? So, if it is it 50% now? I think it's 50%
Yeah.
now, right? Which means that every single roll is I'm rolling 2 gold, but I get more than an additional. It's like 50% to get an extra roll, and that next roll might also get a 50% for a new roll, right? So it's more than 1 gold expected value for each roll that I'm doing, right?
So here,
Whereas I don't get, yeah,
related to that, it would make more sense to not sell the Aatrox and just stay on 7, roll for the Aatrox 3.
yeah, yeah, Aatrox 3, and not just Aatrox 3, right? But also preferably get Riven, get Shen. Maybe you don't get the Alawi, but
Yeah.
if you can get the other two,
The
three
other
stars, then
guy
that's
with Prismatic
fine.
Ticket hit a Shen 3 as well. So I was like,
Oh yeah, that's rough. That's rough.
it was really just Riven left because I think there were at least 3 other
Um,
players playing Alawi as well.
Yeah, yeah. So in that case, probably if you can get Riven 3 plus Aatrox 3, that's probably the best. And then maybe also get the Zoe 3, because
Right.
Zoe 3 even with no items is still pretty good, right?
Okay.
So But that's also like, that's where the majority of the value from your augments are coming from, right? Is the extra rolls.
Hmm.
So, even if you don't think you can hit Shin 3, if you can get the other two 3-star, that's at least something, right?
Right. So then, with the items, would you keep the items on Aatrox and then put the innervating locket on Riven? Actually, that item's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
good
I
on
mean, it's
Riven
either
too.
that or you don't take Innervating Locket at all and you take one of the other carry items and you secondary carry like a Zoe or
Right.
the board,
Okay, that
right?
makes a lot of
But I
sense.
mean, ideally Zoe, right? Because that's like, if you have Prismatic Ticket, you should be playing around the unit that you can realistically 3-star,
Hmm.
right? So you could have Mana Zane Zoe, which if you hit the 3-star, might potentially get you that top 4 that you need, right? So the thing is, if you take the innervating, that's sort of off of the assumption that you 3-star some frontliner to get like the full value out of that item.
Right.
If you don't think you can 3-star your frontliner and you're thinking, okay, but nobody's playing Zoe and I can 3-star and I have a bunch of Zoes so I can 3-star Zoe, then you can think, okay, instead I'll go for the carry items on Zoe. I'll have my secondary carry because you already have like a decent amount of tank items, right?
Hmm.
So it might be better to just play around that instead. But yeah, I think for sure here it's probably better. You're probably better off going for some kind of 3-star
Right.
because really, like at this point in the game at 5-1, if you're level 8, the only thing that your prismatic augment has given you is like the 3-star Zyra, right? Which 3-star Zyra is not really like 3-star Zyra is important for the comp, but it's not going to win you games if you only have a 3-star Zyra, right?
Right.
Or it's not going to get you top 4 just because you have a 3-star Zyra. A lot of the comp is like, okay, your front line needs to survive long enough for you to get those ghost offs, so that in the extended fight you can then just start one tapping things because you've accumulated so many ghosts, right?
Hmm.
But if the front line isn't there, then it doesn't matter how strong the back line is, you won't be able to get through. So that's just in general, like um, really playing around what you need, like what your win cons are, right?
Okay. So to summarize, I have three key learnings. One is not leveling and rolling early, since I want to lose streak,
Mm-hmm.
more importantly, generate econ to make sure that
Yeah,
in my mid game I have enough gold to leverage the golden ticket, since gold is a lot more
yeah,
valuable with, or not golden prismatic ticket. Um,
mm-hmm.
Two is that hurt my ability to get carousel priority, which completely screwed up my item economy.
Yeah, yeah,
And then three is not going to eight and instead staying at seven to roll for at least a 3-star frontliner and ideally a three
yeah,
star
yeah.
Zoe as well, secondary carry.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I think, yeah, those are definitely the main takeaways. I think it's also important, like that aspect about lose streaking and trying to get item prio as well. So that's mostly, if you look at your spot at the start of the game, right?
Hmm.
If you don't have any slammable items, but you want to play around Zyra, that's sort of the decision that you have to make is, okay, I want to play this comp. I'm going to commit to playing this comp by taking Prismatic Ticket, but I don't have the items yet to do it, right? So for sure you won't be able to win streak here. For sure you won't be able to win streak if you don't have the slammable items.
Hmm.
That's why you sort of have to lose and you have to get the item, the carousel priority. If you already had, for example, if I already had Shojin here, right? If I had the full Shojin, some other front line, it's not that big of a deal if I slam items and I play a bit more aggressively,
Hmm.
because I already know I have the items, right? And because of that, I can play more towards the win streak, and I might even be able to win out the full rounds, right? But if you don't have something like the Shojin already, you probably can't even win streak in this position because you're going to run into somebody stronger,
Right.
right? And that's when you kind of have to be like, okay, I gotta give up on trying to level, trying to sort of push this win streak that's not going to happen. I kind of just have to chill for a bit. Don't be too hasty about things. Build up my econ, and losing is good in these scenarios, especially if you're kind of already committing to the comp, but you don't have the resources yet,
Hmm.
right?
Okay, sounds good. All right, then. I'll talk to you next time.
Yep. Awesome.
See ya.
Good luck on the climb.
Thank you.